Hi everyone, in this video look at how we can configure a captive portal to be able to use cryptography to generate and validate vouchers or tokens that can be used by guest users to sign into a network. In previous videos, we've looked at what a captive portal is and how it can be used in network security. We achieved this using pfSense. We've also been able to import HTML code from GitHub to change the default look of the pfSense captive portal. In this video, we'll look at how we can use pfSense to automatically generate vouchers or tokens that will be given to the guest users. And we'll do this using a concept in cryptography known as the asymmetric encryption. This type of encryption involves the use of a key pair known as the private and public key. Usually, you'd see that captive portals will require you to check a box to accept terms and conditions, and then you can proceed to log on to the network. But in this video, we'll look at how we can use vouchers or tokens instead. If you're interested in gaining hands-on experience in the use of captive portals, you can install the pfSense Firewall as a virtual machine and then follow along. You can also refer to my previous videos on how to install pfSense. So let's get started. Since we configured the captive portal in the previous video, we'll go to Services and then we'll choose Captive Portal. From here, you can edit the captive portal by clicking the Edit icon. You would want to make sure that the captive portal is enabled. Also, you'd want to verify that the captive portal is set for the LAN interface. Another important configuration is the authentication method. You should confirm that it's currently set to none, don't authenticate users. In this instance, we wouldn't be using an authentication backend, but rather we'll be using vouchers. So let's choose none, don't authenticate users. So let's go back to the top and let's locate vouchers. So on the vouchers tab, you'd want to choose enable the creation, generation, and activation of roles with vouchers. And once you choose that, there are a few things you'd need to configure. The first thing you need to configure is the public and private key pair. This is a concept in cryptography known as the asymmetric encryption. And in pfSense, the public and private keys are used to generate the vouchers and validate them. So in pfSense, you can simply generate this key pair by clicking Generate New Keys. So as you can see, the key pair has been generated. Generally, it is said that the public and private keys are mathematically linked. However, one cannot be derived from the other. But since they are linked, one can be used to validate the other. Once the keys are generated, you can scroll down and configure the other settings. So we can also configure the character set. And tickets are generated with a specific character set that we specify here. As a best practice, you'd want to avoid characters that are similar and may confuse users. So you'd want to avoid characters like the digit 0 and the alphabet O, as well as the digit 1 and the alphabet I. For this walkthrough, we'll leave the character set as default, but you can decide to reduce the number of characters from which the vouchers will be generated. For the other configurations, you'd want to leave them default, like the number of row bits, the number of ticket bits, the magic number, the invalid voucher message. This is the error message that will be displayed for invalid vouchers. There is also the expired voucher message. So in this scenario, we'll leave them as default and click Save. The next thing we'll need to configure are voucher rows. A voucher row is simply a container used to manage a batch of voucher codes generated. So to create one, you'd click on Add, and you'd give the voucher row a number. For example, let's say 101. The next thing you'd need to configure are the minutes per ticket. So you need to define in minutes how long that voucher would allow access to the internal network. So for example, let's say for 5 hours. And that would translate into 300 minutes. The next thing we'd need to configure is the count. This is simply the number of vouchers we'd want to generate in this voucher row. So let's say 20 for example. Finally, we can choose to add comments. Particularly if we generate a number of voucher rows, it would be easier to add comments to be able to distinguish between the voucher rows. For example, let's say conference day 1, and let's click on Save. So we can see at the top that our voucher row has been generated with the number 101 for 300 minutes, 20 tickets have been generated, and the comment is conference day 1. We can generate as many voucher rows for specific groups of users. But for this demonstration, one should be enough. So at this point, we'd want to test our generated vouchers to see if they work. To be able to see the generated vouchers, we'll need to export them. So we'll need to locate the export button, which is the last button here, and the voucher row would be downloaded onto our system. So we'll need to open the CSV file as a spreadsheet. So in here, we can import it into LibreOffice. So we'll click on OK. This spreadsheet gives us some characteristics about the voucher rule. So we'll see here the number of row bits, the number of ticket bits, the number of checksum bits, the magic initializer, and the character sets used. After that, we can see the voucher codes that have been generated. So what we'll do at this point is to test to see if these vouchers are functional. So we'll copy the first voucher and paste it into a captive portal login page. So back in your browser, you'd probably see at the top of your screen that you must log into this network before you can access the internet. So from here, you can click on Open Network Login page to access the captive portal. If you're not seeing this, you can proceed to try and open any web page on the internet and you'd be redirected to the captive portal. If that doesn't also work, you'd want to disconnect your network and reconnect. Also, you should make sure that you've saved all configurations on the voucher page. So let's click on Open Network Login page. So in here, let's paste the voucher code we copied from the spreadsheet. Let's confirm if it's the same voucher code. So it starts with RAAKJ. Yes, so it's the same thing. So let's click on Continue. So we have successfully joined the network using the voucher code. To confirm that the voucher code is active, we'll go to Status and then we'll choose Captive Portal. So in here, you'd find several statistics, including the IP address that has logged onto the network, the physical address or the MAC address of that system, the username, which is mostly the voucher code, as well as when the session started. If you find any IP address that you're not familiar with, you can immediately disconnect that user. You can further explore other tabs, including the active vouchers. So in here, you see statistics about the vouchers that have been activated, including the voucher rule, when it was activated, and how long it would last. On the voucher rules tab, you'd find statistics about that voucher rule. Currently, we just have one voucher rule, that's the 101. And in here, you'd see the number of tickets that were generated for that voucher rule, which is 20, the number that had been used or are active, and those that are ready to be used. You may also decide to test vouchers. You can also decide to expire a particular voucher. So at this point, we'd want to test and see if the internet is working and we can open a website. So let's open a new tab and let's try to access the Google homepage. So as you can see, the Google homepage has loaded, signaling that the internet is working. So this brings us to the end of this demonstration, showing us how we can isolate a guest network using a captive portal with voucher codes. Thank you for watching.